Hello, business and accounting students. I want to discuss about a very important issue. Some of you have already taken courses like business finance, personal finance with me. And in those classes, we covered stock market and investment significantly. And many of you received $50 from the college foundation to open your retirement account. It was a free money that the college gave you. And almost half of the students in this class, in this capstone class, received the money. Still half have not received any money, and because they didn't take those finance classes with me. But I still have $200 left, and I can still support 4 students who might be interested to open an account with Charles Schwab or with Fidelity Investment and use this $50 to invest for their retirement. It doesn't cost them anything. If they are interested, they will, they can send me an email. You can send me an email, and then I will help you as I helped as many as so far 20 students, 20 business and accounting students showed interest. I gave them the money and they have learned how to invest. They have a retirement account. Now, I want to talk about the importance of understanding the stock market for business students and accounting students and importance of retirement, because first, as business students, you and or accounting students, you learn about the companies. If you ask me what the most valuable company at the moment is, my answer to you is Nvidia. Here it is. This is a company that makes ChatGPT's chips, and it's a kind of like a designer company. It designs the chips and then sends these chips, these designs, to a company mainly in Taiwan, which is called the Taiwan Semiconductors. They make the chips, and then Nvidia sells each one of these chips, one type, a specific type, for $40,000. One chip of computers. Your computers have also chips. They are mainly, many of them are made by, suppose, Intel, which is a good, great company. But anyhow, I want you to understand the concept of investment. This is what Nvidia is and has happened to it today. In the morning here, it was around $209, and then it jumped by to 213, which means it has gone up today, but 2.31%. That means that if you had bought one share for $210, now it is around $213. Means you made around, here it is $5 you made, because 2.33% of this is around $5. If you had bought one share this morning, it would have been around 200, suppose $8. Now it is around 213. But one very important thing is that how did this company become so successful, and many people made a fortune on this company. Let me hear what it means. 1D means that in one day, what happened to this company? Some students, when they received their $50, they invested, in fact, $5 of it in this company, Nvidia. Several students did that. Of course, when you invest $5 of $50, of course, it goes. That means you don't even own one share, because one share is 213. What you own is a kind of fraction of one share. But let's see what happened in the past 5 days ago. Around 5 days ago, it was around $202. Do you see here $202? And it jumped to 213. Let's see what happened. Y2D means year to date. That means from the January 1 until now. In January 1, the stock was only around $188. If you had bought one share, you would have paid $188. Now after 4 months, after 5 months, you have your $188 would have been 113. But the amazing thing is what happened in the 5 years. Look at here. In year 2023, let's say in January 2013, this stock was only $14. That means a lot of smart people at that time had money and they had bought a lot of share. That means that if the person put, let's say, $1,000 at that time, that means 2.5 years ago, 3.5 years ago, his or her $1,000 would have been now around $15,000. And many people were smart. They knew that this was going to be, because that was when the chat GPT got started. The people who knew that the chat GPT was using NVIDIA's chips, what they did, they heavily invested in here. Let's say if you had invested $100,000 here, most likely now you would have been a multimillionaire. You would have had $2 million, That's how the people make their money. That's why the foundation of the college gave the students $50 to understand the meaning, the concept of, investment and the benefits. And then that gives you an idea as business and accounting students to learn about the companies, to learn what NVIDIA is, what it does, what its chips, what's the benefit of, AI, let's say ChatGPT, which is a part of a company called OpenAI. When they buy this NVIDIA's chips, Elon Musk has paid a lot of money in advance to buy maybe 10,000, 20,000, 200,000 of chips of NVIDIA, each chip $40,000, because he needs it for his companies, Therefore, the more you learn about these things, about these companies, about investments, the more successful you will be. And you can be a millionaire at no time if you understand. When I say at no, of course it takes time, but if you know what you are doing, if you start early, even if you are at mid age, let's say 40, if you are 50, you still have time. Don't worry. You just invest, and what you have to understand the risk. When you put the $50, that $50 is a foundation, and you are not going to, lose any money of yours. And when you lose money, when usually the companies go bankrupt, and therefore, let's look at. Imagine that the students who got $50, how they got started. I want to also tell you about two other investments, and one of them, when I come here, this is a good one. One share of it is $501. What this is called, they call it SMH. This is ticker symbol, Vanex Semiconductors ETF. What it is, it's a basket of stocks. Means inside, when you buy one share, for someone buys for $502 of this share, let's say Charles Schwab, or let's say Fidelity, takes and puts $120, or let's say puts around $100 of this 500 in NVIDIA, puts $10 of it in Intel, puts $5 of it in another, technology company such as AMD. These are the chip makers. Therefore, these are the semiconductor companies. And I wish I could have time to discuss why they are called semiconductors and why it is called Silicon Valley. Maybe I create another video for you and email it to you regarding you understand why they call Silicon Valley, which is in California, and silicon is some type of semiconductor that is used in computers when they make chips. We will talk about it. But I want you to understand that let's see what happened to this Vaneck company in year to date or 5 years ago. 5 years ago, it was around $100. Now it is $500, such an investment, great investment. If you had put your $100 in the bank, let me assure you, in your saving account, your worth $100 wouldn't have been $101 at all. It would have been maybe 120 cents. That means you would have made 20 cents. But if you had bought this, ETF means exchange traded fund. Therefore, it would have been your $100 would have been $502 by now. Therefore, we want you, those of you who can invest, those who have Charles Schwab account, if they decide to buy one share of this, they, of course, they have to come up with $502. However, they might say, if could they buy a fraction of this? Charles Schwab doesn't allow a fraction, means $5, just a fraction of this share, because it's an ETF. But Charles Schwab allows the person to buy a fraction of NVIDIA, which means you can buy $5 of fraction of NVIDIA and put $5. If you have money to buy one full share, you may go ahead and pay $213. And then, therefore, if some of you want to buy some of these, ETF funds, then you can also open a Fidelity account. You already know, those of you who already have Charles Schwab account, you can open a Fidelity. And let's say if you have $100, you can open. And those of you who are going to get $50 from me, imagine that if you decide to open your retirement account, you come here and you click here and retirement accounts. I click here. Let's see what kind of, here you go. I meant to show you IRAs. Maybe I should had clicked rollover and IRAs. And here, suppose the students come here and simplify. And what they did, some students opened an, Roth IRA, that I don't want to talk about it now. Some of you who got money from me, you know what it is. One of them is a traditional IRA, and one of them is Roth, and one of them is rollover. One of the students in this class told me she has an account from her previous employer and said she had a 401k in that account, and she told me her money was sitting there. My advice to her was that go ahead and open a rollover IRA and contact that company that holds, where you worked, or the company which is holding your 401k, and say you want to transfer that money to the rollover IRA. It comes right in here. Then you have a full control over it, and then you can start investing, buying, ETFs. Another good ETF, for example, I call it, as you know, this ETF, which is called the semiconductor, invests only in computers, the companies that make chips. But this fund, this is another similar fund, which they call it FTech, Fidelity Technology, FTech. Do you see here is written FTech? Means it takes your money and invests it. One share is how much? 247. But if you open an account with Fidelity, you can, put, a portion of it by a, fraction. And one thing, if you want to know, when you give $247, what it does, let me see if I can find its holding. It comes, let me see, what are the holdings of this? I can ask ChatGPT. ChatGPT, here you go. Any questions you have? ChatGPT, what are the holdings of FTech? And it tells you when it gets your $200, that Charles Schwab, it puts it in its holding. Look here. 18% of your money is placed on NVIDIA. 14% goes, they invest it for you. You don't need to buy every individual of these. And guess what? This Intel has been very successful recently. Therefore, this company, this ETF, is not just for semiconductors, because this is a semiconductor. But Apple is not considered necessarily as a semiconductor company or chip company, or Microsoft is not considered. Broadcom somehow is considered. This is considered also semiconductor, but Cisco is not considered, and Intel is considered as semiconductor. Therefore, this one mainly puts your money in not just semiconductors, in the wide range of technology company. You might say you are scared opening, buying, you don't want to, put everything in your $50 in, semiconductors. Fine, you can buy some semiconductors and you can buy some, FTech, which is mainly technology companies. And we want you to learn about these companies. The more you know as business student, as an accounting student, the more successful you are going to be, and you can have a great retirement account if you don't take crazy risks, if you invest wisely, if you are if you continuously contribute to your retirement account. If you cannot contribute $1,000 a month, no problem, contribute $20, and then over a period of time, the more you contribute, the more you study, the more you understand, the better retirement you are going to have. And it will reach to a day that suddenly you see that in one day you might make $50,000. You just, you wake up and look at the market, it goes up. And then, therefore, as business students, I want you to, watch these companies, definitely invest, open IRA or Roth IRA account, see what they are. If you have 401k from the other employer, when you are working for current employers, you cannot bring your 401k to IRA because you are still working. But when you quit your job, usually you will be able to roll over. You come to one of these brokerage accounts and you open a rollover and you roll it over, and there are policies. Ask ChatGPT any questions you have. You say, I have an account with this here. It is a 401k I had with them. I already opened their rollover account. Tell me what the process is. It will tell you, contact them. They will send you, they will do this. Therefore, it is a very important subject. Those of you who want to receive the $50 from me, send me an email and I will give you your $50. First, I will help you to open an account. After you open an account, I will show you how to invest $5 of it in NVIDIA, $5 of it in FTech, $5 of it in SMH, and you will learn, and from there you will go. If you have any questions, let me know.